I think people look at me and think it comes so easy because they see me pop on Facebook Live. They see I've published books and been a part of amazing projects. So I think it's easy for people to assume that sharing my story is just something easy for me. Well, how many of you know that's really not the case? That ain't true. And I want to talk with you tonight about just how easy it was, almost was, for me not to share my story in an amazing way that I'm glad I went forward and did it today. Yesterday was a pretty rough day for me. I went to the doctor and got some news I didn't want to hear. Have you ever experienced that? Your day was going great and you just thought things were going to be normal as always when you go to the doctor or whatever, and you get news that really makes you want to scratch the doctor's eyes out. Well, yeah, that was me yesterday. So, shout out Carmen from Augusta, Georgia. Carmen Jimenez Pride. Please make sure you're following her. She is one of the co-authors and the upcoming release this year, one of my anthologies, Fiercely Speaking. So make sure you're following Carmen. And she's also an amazing children's book writer. So shout out to Carmen. Love you, girl. And so yesterday I got this rough news from the doctor. And if you know me, when I'm happy, I laugh and I smile. And when I'm not, I don't. I've come to understand that it's important for me to embrace all of my feelings, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So yesterday when I came home, I curled up under the bed, pulled the covers over my head, and just was like, okay, I'm going to allow myself to feel this frustration. I think too often women go into this phase of trying to pretend that they feel great when they don't, and therefore they don't process their feelings. Now, I'm not a therapist, nor do I play one on TV, but that's how I cope. So when I feel something, I allow myself to work through those feelings. And so I give myself my 24-hour period. Therapists watching, let me know your thoughts on that. But I give myself a 24-hour period to feel sorry for myself. And I'll cry and I'll scream and I'll yell and I'll get it all out. And then I wake up the next day and I feel refreshed. Well, that's kind of what I did, or what I thought would happen. But when I got up this morning, I still wasn't feeling that great. And so I looked on my calendar to see all the things I had going on today. And I was going to be a part of a major project that would involve me sharing my story. And I just wasn't feeling it. Have you ever had to complete an obligation and you just weren't feeling it? Well, that was me. Sharing my story is something I'm passionate about. It's something that motivates me and drives me. It's something that gives me hope and really lights a fire under me. But today I was feeling none of it. Can I be honest with you guys? Can I be transparent? Can I be authentic, Audra, with you? I know it's easy to think that as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as an author, that I'm always in front of the camera. So, sharing my story, whether written or on film or whatever, must come easy, but it doesn't. And when there are days when life doesn't go the way you want it to go or you imagine, sometimes it's easy to say, I'm not doing this. So when I woke up this morning and I wasn't quite back to my normal Audra self, I almost pulled out. I almost said, okay, how can I get out of this? Let me review this contract and see if I really have to show up on set today. And then I took a step back. I said, girl, it's people dependent on you. It's people who need you to do this. And now I'm not talking about the producer. I'm not talking about the director. I'm not talking about the person that was leading the whole project. The people that were depending on me were the homeless women, were the homeless children, were the young girls that are stuck because they're living in the street and they have no idea how they're going to get what they need to survive. Ask me how I know. I used to be that girl. So as I thought about who was really depending on me to show up today to tell my story, I began to put the focus on them and take it off myself. And so I began to go and get my clothes together and think about, how I was going to present myself and what parts of my story I would share. And before I knew it, I began feeling a little bit better. As I traveled to the venue, I had to grab an Uber and take a long ride to where they were filming. And instead of sitting in the Uber feeling sorry for myself, I started a conversation with the Uber drivers, going and coming, and made some really great connections. It's like I took control over the situation and said, girl, get it together. And it's crazy because even the Uber driver was so interested in the story and interested in my experience. And, he connected me with his wife. So crazy. And this whole day just wound up shifting and turning, but it didn't happen overnight. It took a while through my day. And finally in the evening, when I arrived at the event, I was feeling like me. I didn't have to fake it. I didn't have to pretend. I was feeling like me. And I was excited to share my story. I wanted to pop in and encourage any of you guys that think that this is easy for anybody, because it's not. I hear so often people say, well, Audrey, you don't understand. It's tough for me to go live, or it's tough for me to write my story on paper, or, my family's going to get upset, or I have this going on, as if those are experiences that I'm not going through or other leaders aren't going through. But here's the difference. The difference is we have learned how to take the focus off of how we're feeling. We've learned to take the focus off of what we may be going through and focus on the end result. Why we choose to still share it is because we recognize that there's somebody waiting, y'all. There's somebody waiting to hear it, whose life will be changed. But what if we chose to drown ourselves in our sorrow? What if we chose, look, I ain't got time for this today. What if we chose to hide and shrink in the background? Where would all the women be that are waiting to hear from us? Because see, whether you realize it or not, there is somebody out there waiting to hear from you specifically. Yeah, you. There's somebody waiting to hear specifically from you. There is someone out there right now who is currently living through what you've already come through. All the turmoil that you survived, there's somebody right now that's currently going through it. And as much as you may think, well, somebody else can help them, no, you're their assignment. They're your assignment. So for all of you storytellers that are watching, if you're a storyteller, put in the comments, I am a storyteller. And that's whether you tell your story by writing books, creating films, writing poetry, sharing it through spoken word, however you choose to share your story. Understand on the rough days, on the days when you get news that, really shakes you to your core, understand that even in spite of all of that, you still have a job to do. And the universe is expecting you to follow through on it. So put one foot in front of the other and take it moment by moment and walk in the path that you are meant to be on, because you are amazing. You are a storyteller. You are going to change lives But none of that can happen if you allow yourself to be overcome by the day-to-day. Because understand this, and we are probably all grew up hearing this saying in church and wherever, that this too will pass. And it definitely will. So I'm sharing with you what I did today, because I almost allowed circumstance to stop me from sharing my story. And it can happen just that easy. So on days when you're feeling like you don't know if you're going the right way, or you feel like everything is coming at you and you're trying to get this story out and you're trying to share it and you're trying to reach the masses, but it seems like you're pushing against a hard wall, I want you to remember this. There was nothing on this earth. There was nothing on this earth that can stop you from sharing your story. I don't care how it looks. If that story is meant to get out, and it will, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. So look that adversity in the face and say, boo, you ain't got this. You don't have this. On your roughest days, know that you are still a storyteller. When it's cloudy outside and it seems like nothing is going right, you are still a storyteller. You are put here for massive impact. And don't let any circumstance, any situation, or any human being tell you otherwise. I am Audra Upchurch. I believe in myself, but I believe in you too. We've all got this. Love you guys.